The Arizona Wildcats beat the Oregon Ducks. Final score: Arizona Wildcats 80 to the Oregon Ducks 52. One of the biggest things for the Arizona Wildcats, one of the biggest goals for the Arizona Wildcats was to try and contain Joseph Young from the Oregon Ducks. They did pretty good. The Arizona Wildcats did pretty good at first. At the start of this game, the Oregon Ducks came out blazing. They were on fire, and I think they had Young, Joseph Young, the guy I was just talking about from the Oregon Ducks. He scored 2 for 2 field goals right there in the beginning. I think one was a 3-pointer, and the other one was a 2-pointer. But so the Oregon Ducks had like a 10-4 lead or something right in the beginning of the game, but then the Arizona Wildcats just kind of went on a big run, and it was, I think it was like 17-7 or something like that. So the Arizona Wildcats had gone on a 13-0 run at that, right after the first, after the Oregon Ducks had scored those 10 points. And the Arizona Wildcats never really looked back after that. They kind of dominated this game pretty much, and I mean, it was I want to say it was probably close to 10 points for 10-point advantage for the Arizona Wildcats for most of the first half. But then it started to creep up, started to be to 14, and then it started to get to 16, and then before you knew it, then in the second half, then it started to be a 20-point lead, and then at one point, it had blown up to like a 30 or a 32-point lead for the Arizona Wildcats. But that was right near the end of the game. But still, it was so the Oregon Ducks they came out and they were shooting on all cylinders. They were ready to go when this game started. But then whenever the Arizona Wildcats just kind of started to get comfortable and started to shut down Joseph Young from the Oregon Ducks, then that's pretty much because Joseph Young, he scored those first 2 field goals, and then he missed all 8 of his shots afterwards in that first half. So he ended up in the first half with having making 2 field goals out of 10 shots, 10 attempts. And I think that it was McConnell, T.J. McConnell for the Arizona Wildcats that was kind of in Joseph Young's pocket, kind of in his pocket or in his shirt most of the time, right there in the first half, and so that's one of the reasons why he was playing Joseph Young so close that Joseph Young couldn't really get any decent shots off, and when he did, then they weren't until later on, and they weren't until the second half, and I think that's kind of when the defense kind of let off a little bit, and that's whenever Joseph Young. I noticed that Joseph Young he did quite a few dribble penetrations to get into the key and just kind of throw the ball off the glass, and he did some nice ones there. But Joseph Young knocked down a couple more three-pointers. After that, to the first half, Joseph Young from the Oregon Ducks, he was 2 for 10, but then the second half, then he was 5 for 9. So they definitely let off the brakes on Joseph Young quite a bit in that second half, and that's why that Joseph Young pretty much he was the highest scorer in the team. He ended up with 19 points. Like I said, 3 of those 19 or um, 9 of those 19 points were three-pointers, and he had a couple of field goals. But one of the things that I really enjoyed seeing today was not necessarily the assists for the Arizona Wildcats were pretty much all contained or all present with T.J. McConnell, the point guard. They were a little bit more distribution with the assists, and so T.J. McConnell had, I think, well, he had 6 assists, so he did his average, which was 6 or 7 assists a game. So he did really good on the amount of assists, and whenever he gets a lot of assists, then sometimes it kind of it kind of makes his shooting a little bit more comfortable, and he ends up making more of his shots. He's more consistent with his shot with his shooting. I mean, tonight he took 2 3-pointer attempts and he made both of his, and I don't think that he's ever done that. He usually misses at least 1 or 2 of his 3-pointers, so it was kind of unusual. But anyway, so T.J. McConnell had 6 assists, which is his average, kind of normal for him. But Rondé Hollis-Jefferson had 5 assists, which is very unusual for Rondé Hollis-Jefferson to have that many assists, and that's great. It makes me feel so good. It makes me feel so good to hear, to read that Rondé Hollis-Jefferson had 5 assists. I mean, I expect him a large amount of assists from T.J. McConnell, and I also expect quite a few assists from the backup point guard, Parker Jackson-Cartwright for the Arizona Wildcats. Parker Jackson-Cartwright had 3 assists tonight. But to get 5 assists from somebody that you kind of didn't expect with Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, I think that's fantastic. I mean, Stanley Johnson, he usually gets maybe 2 or 3 assists a game if he's had a pretty good game, and so so that's pretty cool. But then Stanley Johnson only had 1 assist tonight, and so I think that how the Arizona Wildcats made up for those assists tonight was with Rondé Hollis-Jefferson having 5 assists, and like I said, I think that's just fantastic. So anyway, the two biggest things for me for the Arizona Wildcats, if the Arizona Wildcats can get over 15 assists a game, 6 or 7 from T.J. McConnell, and then the rest 8, 7 or 8 assists from the rest of the team, then I'm pretty happy. And if the assists can be distributed around, then I'm pretty happy about that. But the Arizona Wildcats ended up with 17 assists tonight, which is fantastic. It's a good team play, very, very good team play, and I think that's awesome, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Arizona Wildcats beat up on the Oregon Oregon Ducks, is because the Oregon Ducks were playing more individual ball. I mean, I think at the end of the first half there was only three different guys that had scored any points. I don't think that any other players for the Oregon Ducks had scored points. There was, I think it was Elgin Cook, which had a bunch of points, and then it was, it was Young, Joseph Young, that had a bunch of points, and then I think it was Dylan Brooks that had a bunch of points, and that was it. There was no other team, so there was no other part of the team that could really rely on as far as picking up the slack for the Oregon Ducks, and so it was more of an individual game, and it's more one-on-one, attacking the players one-on-one, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Oregon Ducks just kind of ran out of gas right there at the end, because if you're playing an individual ball, then your players, some of the players that are the major players that are scorers, are going to get tired after a while, and then then what can you do? What do you have what backup do you have? What support system do you have? And they didn't have any support system, and that's why the final score was Arizona 80 and the Oregon Ducks 52. I wanted to say that the last time that I got really, I kind of was a little bit hard on Brendan Ashley. Brendan Ashley had 20 points tonight. He was the highest scorer for the whole team for the Arizona Wildcats, and I was saying that one of the reasons why Brendan Ashley did so good the last game was because he had one of the players for the UCLA Bruins on, I think it was, I can't remember his name, but anyway, he had a face mask on, and I think he had some kind of facial fracture or something like that. So that I think that was kind of a weak defense, and that's why Brendan Ashley was able to score so many points that game. But then I was looking at the game a little bit more extensively later on, and I realized that actually Brendan Ashley wasn't defended by that one specific guy too much. He was actually defended by a bunch of different people, but he still was able to conquer and get a lot of points, and I think he had 24 points last night against UCLA Bruins, but then tonight against the Oregon Ducks, Brandon Ashley for the Arizona Wildcats had 20. So and he scored eight out of 10 of those points were from the free throw line. 6 for 8 field goals. Those are your individual ball, somewhat, guys. Is Brendan Ashley, Stanley Johnson. Let's see, Rondé Hollis-Jefferson is more of an individual ball, but so that's why it was kind of interesting to see him, whip the ball out to, and get 5 assists tonight. So anyway, the Arizona Wildcats win the Pac-12 Pac-12 tournament. Final score: Arizona Wildcats 80 to the Oregon Ducks 52.
I was doing this exercise while sitting in bed. My right elbow is kind of bothering me a little bit today. I think I twisted it, or I think I turned a nerve or something like that whenever I was doing transfers or something. I think I twisted a nerve in my elbow, so it's hurting me a little bit today. So I figured I would give it a little bit more time to heal up, and give it a day. whenever I'm doing push-ups or anything like that, whenever I'm laying in bed, then it starts to hurt my elbow, my right elbow kind of. So what I did today is I did an exercise that works on my left arm. My left arm didn't have the PIC line in it that you can see there on my bicep, but the left arm, so the left arm is pretty well exercised, so I didn't really need to work out my left arm as much as I need to work out my right arm, but like I said, I wanted to give my right arm a little bit of a break, my right elbow a little bit of a break. So what I did was I did these sitting shoulder presses. They work out quite a bit of the front of the shoulders. If you noticed, I had my head arched back whenever I was doing these presses. Because I was making contact with the wall behind me, with the back of my head, with the crown of my head was making contact with the wall, was touching the wall. You also get a little bit of workout in your wings, a little bit, not much. You also get I also got a little bit of workout in my trap muscles, where the shoulders are. I also had to have a little bit of balance here while I was doing it. I wanted to make sure that I keep my head up the whole time, trying to look at the ceiling or something like that while I'm doing this exercise, because I want to concentrate mostly on trying to exercise my shoulders. Because if you don't look up, if I don't look up, if I look straight or if I look down or something like that, then I exercise, actually it hurts my shoulder quite a bit. It's like I'm not exercising the right muscles or something like that. So it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good whenever I have my head down and stuff, whenever I'm doing these presses, sitting shoulder press exercises. And I hardly use any weight, but that's good because, once I saw the weight, then I thought, well, I could probably increase the weight a little bit. But then after I get done doing so many reps and so many sets, then after a while, then it really starts to wear on me. And you can see my arm is kind of starting to shake a little bit and tremble and stuff like that.